got 1 hour and 15 minutes till the deadline's up. Let's get to it. It's Topical starts right now. A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. Alongside me today are SABC reporters and panelists. Makhala Masiteng is watching developments in Bloemfontein. Willemseni Mtiani is in the house. We will cross to them in a short while. Our panelists will join us later, including energy expert, Ruse Moleshe, who you see on your screen there in the middle, pretty in blue, Daphne Mokwena, and Seth Mazibuko will complete the panel, as well as our digital audience. TikTok, D-Day, D standing for deadline, exactly at 20:15 tonight. We are told that the meter coding project is being done for technical reasons to ensure that all Eskom prepaid meters continue working. Don't make attempts to recode and you will lose power. The meter will become inoperable, necessitating a meter replacement that could cost up to 12,000 Rand, which you, the customer, will have to pay. Now, there seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel. They are calling it a technological breakthrough. Eskom says current zero buyers, which with active meters, have been granted an extension to update their meters to be key revision number 2 compliant beyond tonight. Now, zero buyer is the term Eskom uses to describe someone who consumes electricity without purchasing it. I also saw another definition describing a zero buyer as a customer with active prepaid meters who do not purchase electricity recently, right? So Eskom can now pre-create key change tokens on its online vending system. What does it mean in practical terms? So we will discuss. You know, you've seen it. There's been some frustration among some customers. Could this have been done in a better way? Where are the gaps? Which leads us to the umbrella question of the week. And we're asking you, what do you make of Eskom's handling of the prepaid electricity meter recoding deadline and its impact on consumers? Let us know at SABC News_TV. Let's walk and talk. You know the destination by now. It is to the magic wall. Why? Well, to give you context, we need to understand whether the communication strategy worked, where the gaps and how we can be better. Let us know your thoughts, your experiences at SABC News_TV. Perspective coming up. All right, let's get you some context. And as always, we turn to the magic wall, what we know and why it matters. SABC News researcher Willemseni Mtiani joins me now live. You're becoming a staple. Why? Because you've got a better mind. Now, we need this better mind. Help us understand, before we get to this extension, right, is a caveat there as well. With regards to people need to buy electricity before 2015, otherwise they won't have power tomorrow, correct? Help us understand that process.
Firstly, let's put it into context. What actually those who are very familiar with standard transfer specific prepaid meters have already said that if you have in your own more credit after the 24th, it means you may be able to continue to have access to electricity. So now when Eskom announced that they've got a breakthrough, perhaps it pertains to tokens, key change tokens, that if you pay and you pay to the legal vendor today before 8:15, so you will have that key change token, meaning that even after the deadline, remember this deadline is beyond Eskom, it's a technical issue in all the standard transfer specifications meters. So therefore, if you have this key change token and if you have bought, it means that you then avoid a potential penalty, as you have correctly said, of 12,000 rands that you have to pay just for you to be connected.
I wonder to what extent is Eskom killing two birds with two tokens, so to speak. On one hand, you doing the upgrade, but on the other, you're unearthing a lot of people who have not been paying for electricity.
It's a very great strategy for them. We must remember that Eskom annually loses close to 20 billion rands on illegal connections, which comes in different formats. Number one is those who bypass their meters, and then number two are those who illegally connect, and number three are those who are selling the illegal vendors. So all these three categories, if you combine them all together, they cost Eskom up to 20 billion and more, without including the cost of copper, in which those who are illegally connecting, they then steal Eskom's copper so that they could use it to illegally connect even without meters. So if you look into your screen, then they are going to deal with those who are zero buyers. So the zero buyers, currently they constitute a large number of those who have not moved from key revision number 2, because you need to move from key revision number 1, and then you must be recoded so that you move from key revision number 1 to key revision number 2, which is the current, and that's what you will keep you accessing electricity.
So this is not only happening in South Africa, correct?
When it comes to this change, it's not only happening in South Africa, but it is very much important to note that most municipalities have done very well in terms of ensuring that they push this implementation and meet 99%, almost 100%, some of them prior to that, because of the systems that they have in place. Perhaps what we should be asking is that, has Eskom done enough to sufficiently communicate this message? One of the discussions we had was that perhaps they could have had their own deadline before the real deadline of the 24th. But again, they have 6 months after this deadline of today. They've got 6 months up until May next year for this system to accommodate those who will still be needing to be transferred to the key revision number 2.
Eskom will argue that they've been talking about this since August last year. What do you make, or what are people saying on the ground with regards to their awareness strategy?
Well, if you communicate the message, it must have a specific target audience. And if that audience is not reached, then as a communicator, you must ask yourself questions. Have your strategies been effective? Have your strategies been reaching to the people that you intend to? If we look at the snaking queues that we have seen all around the country, one thing that we are picking up that we can tell, particularly for Eskom customers, the message has not reached them.
Right. I want to talk more about some of the challenges in terms of implementing this update. What have you picked up?
Well, one of the things that I've just noticed, that if you look at the low electricity purchases, almost all metropolitan areas that are dealing with a problem of about 40 to 50% of meters that are not operational, where they are not buying electricity. So now it brings a question as to the type of technical ability and engineering ability that they have to track each meter. So if each meter can bypass, then they should be able to spot this meter is where, so that they could go there and check what's happening there. Number two, those who are illegal vendors, now we look into how are they then accessing the system in the grid where they could get electricity, because they are selling electricity, but it's not getting to Eskom. So now this is a global token identifier all over, which is taking place globally, and then again it's going to help Eskom, as we have said, that it's going to deal with those who are illegally bypassing. But again, the question is, how do we know that after they have moved from key revision number 1 to key revision number 2, are they not going to be able to have ability to breach even the new system? So a lot needs to be answered by Eskom when it comes to that regard.
I have Daphne Mokwena on the program tonight. I'm going to put some questions to her. We'll get an update. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Blaine.
Appreciate it. Context, always important. SABC News researcher Tiane. We will discuss further in a short while. I want to get a sense of what's happening on the ground. I want to bring in SABC News reporter Calvin Tlutla, who was in Soweto the better part of today, the better part of the week actually, following this project of upgrading very closely. Let me bring him into the conversation. Calvin, very good evening to you. You are eyes and ears on the ground. What did you see? What did you hear?
Good evening, Blaine Herman, and to our SABC viewers at home. I would have loved to join the Zoom meeting, but unfortunately, technologically, so I'm being handicapped. But let me hear the gentleman you are talking to saying that, according to him, Eskom did not communicate properly because people did not hit the call. No, Eskom did communicate, but the only challenge that Eskom had was that people were scared or were hesitant to come forward, because this was not just a formal communication from a customer to to Eskom, but it was because people were hesitant, Blaine, because they knew that they are not paying for electricity. So for them to come out, they knew that Eskom will then know that they are bypassing electricity. We've been in Soweto for the better part of the week, as you have mentioned in your introduction. Lines were so long, Blaine, from Monday as we were going around checking people. We started in Orlando Communal Hall, where we saw a tragic incident that took place there. An old man, collapsing and ended up dying because of staying for a very long time. But we did communicate with the Eskom's customers. They did tell us, some of them, especially the youth, that they knew, Blaine, that there was a deadline that is looming, which is today, the 24th of November. The much talked about 24th of November 2024, but the elderly, they did say that unfortunately for them, they did not know, because they don't have such gadgets where they can just go and browse and check dates. But they came in numbers, and they were panicking because they knew that if it happens that they don't go to Eskom or interact with the power utility, they won't have electricity come tomorrow and then following days. Today we went back there because it was the last day. We anticipated the high volume of Eskom's customers, but I have to tell you that where we were playing Deep Trophy, the next to Ara, a taxi rent, people came out in numbers. When you arrived in the morning, people were over 1,000. But Eskom officials in there, senior officials and spokespersons, they were there trying to engage with the community. The only problem that they had is that it seems as if the communication between Eskom and its customers was not proper when it comes to who is supposed to join the queue, Blaine. They did not know that. You remember that Eskom issued a statement saying midweek saying that there are some people who are not supposed to come and join the queue, because those are the people who do not pay for electricity, those people who have connected illegally, those who don't have meter boxes, and those who are buying electricity from illegal trick vendors. But Eskom tried by all means, Blaine, I have to say, to make sure that they scam those people, and they did go home, and then tomorrow they will have to come back again in the morning. So the whole week Eskom has been trying by all means to do the hard people saying that they did not know. Most of them admitted to SABC saying that they don't have money. They don't pay interest.
Calvin, before I let you go, I just want to get a sense of, look, I saw you earlier this morning trying to explain this extension and what it means for people. Eskom telling people don't join the queue now, buy electricity before 2015, 8:15 tonight, and then you can sort it out, the rest of the process that triggers that upgrade process this week. How many people did you speak to who are actually going to go out now and buy electricity?
Countless people, I have to say. We spoke to, on television, we spoke to almost 10 people, but off air, we spoke to a large number of people, because you know what was the case? It was that if you don't cooperate with the power utility, obviously you are telling yourself that you won't have electricity come tomorrow. So people went to buy tokens, but as I'm saying, they went home and they tried to punch the numbers, but unfortunately the numbers did not correspond, so they had an issue. But those people are coming back tomorrow so that Eskom can be able to sort them out, please.
All right, Calvin Ludler, thank you very much indeed for your reporting, sir. All right, let's go to the Free State now. It's where we find my colleague, Makhala Masiteng. She's live for us there. Makhala, talk to us about the process that unfolded today where you are.
Thank you very much, Blaine. We are standing outside the Centlec offices here in Bloemfontein. They have already indicated, Blaine, that they are at over 99% of people who have managed to recode their meters. But earlier on in the morning, we have seen, of course, several people trickling in here at the Centlec offices. And mainly the issue here, Blaine, was the issue where people, or residents rather, were saying that they were able to buy the electricity, and when they were entering the tokens, they were getting the error code. So they were rather confused, or rather that caused a lot of panic from many residents that led to them coming here to try and inquire. As you would know that the deadline is very soon. So that really caused a panic among many residents here in Bloemfontein. Other than that, we have heard of several issues, of course, of many people who have been complaining that they are struggling with loading their tokens, but there was not much of issues in terms of seeing people coming here in numbers, because even in the morning there were just a small group coming in just to inquire, especially about the fact that they are seeing that error code. And when we're talking to the Centrelec spokesperson, he did indicate that there is a process that is different from Eskom, because now they are using a different process, but many people were still using what was provided rather by Eskom to check if their meters have been upgraded. But he did make it clear that even if there's still that error code, as long as residents are able to buy the electricity and also put in those tokens, then there's nothing wrong. They must just not panic, and this issue of them seeing that error code is the matter that will be handled later on, but they will be able to use the electricity and also be able to buy the electricity. And also he indicated that there will be those who will be unable to buy the electricity from the various vendors, but when they buy online, it will be fine. So even those ones, he did say that they must not panic. I just want to move out of the shot just to show you how quiet it is here. The offices will be open, of course, until 8 o'clock, just to give those who are still behind to come and get assistance here from the Centrelec offices. By the way, Blaine, here in Mangaung, we're not only dealing with the issue of upgrading the electricity tokens or meters, we are also having a deadline tonight of the upgrading of water meters here in Mangaung. The Mangaung Metro Municipality did indicate that it was standing at over 92% of people who have managed to also upgrade their water meters, and their offices as well are also open until 8 o'clock tonight, just to assist those who are left behind with upgrading their water meters. So what we have learned earlier on when we were speaking to the Mangaung Metro Municipality, Blaine, was the fact that this process of upgrading the water meters actually led to them discovering that there were many people who were using water without paying for it. And he did indicate, of course, that there will be penalties for those who were still using water without paying, but also indicating that this will also assist municipality, especially in terms of the revenue collection, but also in terms of the waste of water in Mangaung, because they were indicating that if people are able to pay for the water, they will be able to use it sparingly.
So relatively a successful project with over 99% of people compliant. What do you put that on, Makhala, in terms of your observation of the strategy to inform people?
Well, I think it's because they already started with small municipalities last year, your Mohokare municipality as well as Kopanong, because they are not only offering rather supplying the power only in Mangaung. So in Mangaung, they only started in May, but already they had an experience of what to do or what they are going to come across as they implement this process. So that might have worked on their advantage in a way, for that they knew already what is it that they will be dealing with when they came here to implement this process here in Mangaung Metro Municipality. And they also did indicate that they were consulting even with councillors just to make sure that they are able to assist residents in their various areas.
Right. Makhala Masiteng, live for us in Bloemfontein in the Free State. Appreciate your reporting. Right, let's get to the discussion. Lots to talk about, so little time, but we'll get to it as quick as we can. My guest tonight, Ruse Moleshe, energy expert. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Also on our digital wall, we have Daphne Mokwena from Eskom. Seth Mazibuko is Soweto community leader. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Also, our digital audience, please raise your virtual hand if you have any questions, and I'll do my very best to get to you. Daphne Mokwena, let's start with you first. No doubt it's been a busy month, even a busy week. It's an understatement, I guess. Let's talk about who is yet to upgrade. Do you have any numbers, any updates for us? Oops, it seems that Daphne is frozen. Let's give it a try again. Daphne, can you hear us?
Yeah. No, good evening, and good evening to your guests and your viewers.
Go ahead, Daphne.
Yeah. So it's just that there's an echo. All right. So where we are currently, we can confirm that 100%, we are at 100% in terms of having our meters ready for all our customers to can collect their key change tokens so that they can finalize the updating of their meters. So as Eskom, as you know, that with the extension, we also pre-generated the tokens for those customers that were not coming forward to buy electricity. So hence, with including those that have already started transacting on KRN2, right. So we're sitting at 100%. That's the 6.9 million customers that the total that we were targeting.
Right.
In terms of customers that are, that have completed the process of updating their meters, we're sitting at 5.48 million customers that have completed this process, and we left with 1.4 million.
Talk to us about how you get the 100% if there's still about 1.4 million that have yet to do the full upgrade.
So remember, on Friday, we said there was this technical or technological breakthrough that we had that enabled us to pre-generate the tokens, even though the customer wouldn't have bought or have come or approached us to buy the tokens. Yeah. Because remember, the process starts or kickstarts with the customer buying electricity, and then they get those tokens of electricity. So we then pre-generated these tokens and filed them or stored them in a file so that when the customer is ready to can come forward and buy electricity, then they are able to get those tokens, and then they can finalize the process.
Right. So if somebody didn't take up that offer and buy electricity before 8:15 tonight, tomorrow, or once their credit has run out, they will not be able to use that machine, correct?
So we're saying that if a customer didn't update their meters, because those meters, standard transfer specification meters or STS meters, they will be, or the software will be expiring, or they will have rolled over from key revision number 1 to key revision number 2. So what would happen is that if you've got credits in your unit, those credits will, when they run out or when they get depleted, right. If you are not converted to KR or updated to KRN2, your meter will not accept any credit tokens.
Seth Mazibuko, Eskom managed to get 100%. What do you think about the process, how it unfolded? Mr. Mazibuko, are you with us? All right, let's try to read down Mr. Seth Mazibuko. Jose, maybe I'll throw that question to you. Your observation from afar, in terms of the communication strategy, in terms of how it unfolded. You saw the lines, you saw the frustration, but you heard the explanation from Eskom. What's your thoughts?
So, yes, so, excuse me, from my perspective, I mean, we know that Eskom almost a year ago did communicate that this would happen, but obviously there would be those, as they mentioned, those older people that may not have understood exactly what needs to be done. So those are the legitimate concerns. However, there is, as we've known for a long time, there is an issue with people that have not been paying for electricity. People in backyards, vendors that are not legal. So that has contributed to the issue, because coming to the front now and identifying yourself, not such an easy thing. But at least it's encouraging to see that Eskom managed to mitigate the biggest risk.
Daphne, I was just talking a little earlier on with colleagues with regards to, killing two birds with two tokens, so to speak. You getting the upgrade, but you also pick up people who have not been paying for electricity as well. I just want to understand, you are saying that you're willing to help them, but will there be any punitive measures taken against people who haven't been paying for electricity?
Yeah, that is a normal process that it's part of our operations, that when we find a customer that would have tampered with our meters or our infrastructure for that matter, that they get temper fines before, or we disconnect them, issue them with the temper fines before we can reconnect them. And I was on the ground at Deep Blue, for an example. Most of the customers, because we were then taking data from these customers in terms of like their phone numbers, stand numbers, and meter numbers, which, by the way, they had. But what was striking, most of the customers, actually, they were also presenting, the disconnection notices. And when you ask the customers that, does it mean that you don't have disconnected notices from Eskom? And by the way, if you've got that disconnection notice with you, it means that you should be off wherever you are. And surprisingly, the response would be, no, I do have electricity. So, which tells you that this customer, we disconnected, and then he continued to reconnect himself.
To what extent is the illegal connections undermining Eskom's revenue?
No, there are, because, for per annum, we're losing about 7.7 billion rands from illegal connections, ghost vending, and meter bypassing. Because also remember, illegal connections are not just from our customers. We have illegal connections as well from informal settlements where they are illegally connecting to our networks. So what we're looking at is about a loss of 7 billion.
Daphne, we're losing you a bit there, but I just want to be perfectly clear, and just a hypothetical scenario of somebody coming to you, maybe those who are standing in the line, comes to you and says, listen, I've been using electricity illegally, bridging, or whatever the case may be. I'm now presenting myself. I want to, start paying or something like that. Are they still going to face that fine?
They're still going to face the fine. And maybe if we can just remind ourselves of where we're coming from, and specifically with the Soweto customers, that remember they were on postpaid meters, right? Meaning that they were being billed. And having to, obviously, every month having to pay for their bills. And we had a huge debt, because of the customers not paying. But when we introduced the prepaid meters, then that debt, most of it was parked. And we still use the word parked, and with the agreement that within 36 months, if they are not bypassing their meters and they are, honest customers, if you like, then we'll see how we then conclude with that debt that is sitting with these customers. And we were told that, you've got go-go's, you've got houses that, were led by children. So we understood that, and hence we then installed these prepaid meters. Remember, for customers that could not afford or cannot afford, there's also the free basic electricity that could be applied for, that they need to apply for from the municipality that is servicing them, so that they can actually get these free tokens as well every month.
Yeah. Jose, the Minister of Electricity was saying the municipalities are collectively owed about 340 billion, and illegal connections are really eating away at the municipality, be it Eskom, the ability to keep the lights on. What do you make of the strategy?
So the sustainability of the industry depends on really collections, because if there are no collections, as you would know, this revenue is required to actually build more infrastructure, extend, electrification to other areas. So if the municipalities are not able to collect and they're not able to pay Eskom, the whole system is compromised. Yeah. And also customers that are paying are now having to pay to carry the burden for those who don't. So I think this is a blessing in disguise that we are here today, so that at least we can see some of those bottlenecks and be able to collect even better. Yeah.
Let's go to our digital audience. Let's hear from William. William, your thoughts?
Thank you and good evening. I think looking at this, there are both positive and negative aspects. The positive aspects being that Eskom wants to combat the illegal use of electricity. But if you look at the negative aspects, I think the way that they've gone about it could have been done better. In terms of, they just have inadequately communicated the deadline, and I believe that they have not given people ample time to meet this deadline or to upgrade to the new system. And it's not always the people that have transport or the people that can easily upgrade are not going to have any problem with this. The people that are affected, we hear stories. I know someone, an old lady in her 80s, had to sit for more than 14 hours through the night, sleeping on a chair just to try and get some help. And I feel that Eskom has not provided enough information and enough awareness on how people can do this and sort of where they can go and get the relevant help. It's led to an unnecessary panic. And I mean, it's incredibly sad. If we look at the situation in Soweto, it led to the loss of a life. And I feel that this is very unnecessary. It goes completely back to that saying that a strong society cannot be sustained by hurting, in this case especially, people that might generally already be disadvantaged. And I feel that the people should have been put first in this situation. All
right, I'm going to get Daphne Mokwena to respond to that. And Moletela, I see your hand as well. We need to take a quick break. We're talking about the question, the umbrella question of the week is, how did Eskom handle this whole thing? You heard what William had to say. I'm going to get Daphne Mokwena to respond to that in a short while. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. We're talking about Eskom's recoding process. Was it communicated properly? What do you make of the strategy? They hit 100%. Still, they are, well, the extension, but there's a caveat with regards to the extension. 8:15 tonight. If you do not buy electricity from a legal vendor, then that machine is obsolete. You need to fork out another, 12,000 Rand, I'm told. And that comes out of your pocket. Why? We'll find out in a short while. We've got Daphne Mokwena with us as well. We're going to get the finer details with regards to that. Now, on our regular Word on the Street feature, we took to the streets seeking diverse insights and perspectives on the issue of meter updates. And this is what people had to say. Take a look.
I think they need more time.
People should be given more time. It's the festive season now. People have responsibilities, so the government should give them more time until next year.
For next year. So I think the government made amalanga up until next year.
People are scared to go recode their meters because of fear of being arrested. It is expensive, and that's why people connect their electricity illegally. We are unemployed and depend on social grants, and it's not enough to buy electricity.
Zothenga i-26 unit nge-100 rand angeke vele ngi-afford le gas lo.
I'm used to paying. We pay for everything. We pay for water, electricity rates and taxes. So I don't think it's unfair. I feel like people should be paying for these things. You can't get it for free all the time. So if you've missed the deadline, then go pay. Pay and get it installed.
Some people, especially in the township, obviously, it's knowing that it's going to be cut off, and what are they going to do when the bill is handed to them? You've been bridging from this time to this time.
We are willing to pay for electricity, but the rates must be reasonable. We can't afford to pay hefty electricity bills. Most of us are unemployed.
If it's about compliance, I think we should be compliant as citizens. But it's unfortunate for those who have breached their meter box. I mean, justice has to be served at some stage. So I believe as a law-abiding citizen, all citizens should be able to abide by the law.
Really appreciate your thoughts on this matter. We've been having some issues with the community leader from Soweto, Seth Mazibuko. I've managed to get him on the line. I'm going to bring him into the conversation in a short while, but I need Daphne Mokwena to respond to William. Criticism, Daphne Mokwena, with regards to the strategy and the communication to residents. Your response?
Yeah, look, for any process that one implements, there's always room for improvement. But I would just like to differ with William, because this process of updating the meters, I'm going to start with the process first and go to how we have communicated. So this process is as easy as when I buy electricity, I then get my tokens, and I go and update my tokens to my meter, and my meter will be updated. I don't even need to go to Eskom's offices because I am buying electricity. So it's as easy as that. Now, looking at our journey, when you look back at around May, June, we had over 4 million customers that had already updated their meters. So obviously, it's buying customers because, as I said, that the process starts with you buying electricity. You don't even have to know about the process. If I just have to maybe add a little bit of that to say, it was as easy as if I buy electricity, I get my 20-digit tokens, upload them as I upload my normal supply tokens, and my meter is converted. But when I go back now in terms of communication, we have been communicating this as far back as 2022, but with campaigns we started in 2023 around August. 2022 because we started with a pilot project in Riversend, and then 2023 when we roll out the project, we started with intensifying our campaigns to educate customers to say this date, 24th of November, when 2024, your meter will expire or the software will expire. So
Right.
we need to ensure that we buy electricity so that we can be able to get those tokens and update our meters.
Right.
So we have been doing our communications, or communicating to customers since then, since August last year.
Okay, let's test your explanation, Daphne. Let me bring in Seth Mazibuko. Mr. Mazibuko, I hope you heard what Daphne Mokwena had to say in terms of explaining their communication strategy. How does that sit with you?
You know what, my brother, I have a very serious problem with the way Daphne speaks. She speaks like she's not coming from a township or a village. She speaks as though she's coming from somewhere else. But let me not be personal about this. You know, when we get to elections, when we want people to vote for us, we make sure that we even go to their houses. We make sure that even the old ladies get to understand the voting, the disabled or everybody. But Eskom never learns that they've got to do the same when they've got to do and campaign for such a project. Let me go back. The very introduction of the meters was never communicated well. But I know people, black people, in their spirit of wanting to do right, they did what they can do. And let us not speak from our desks and from our tick the box as managers and directors and think we have communicated. I'm in Orlando East, and I see SABC has covered a lot of Orlando East. Can I tell you, I only got reconnected now. And can I tell you, it is because I've got means of speaking to higher levels.
Right. What is the way forward, Mr. Mazibuko?
Can I make this?
Go on.
Diagonal opposite from where I am, I had to take an Eskom person and say, please go and help them. And all I'm saying, let me make my summary and I'll give over to Eva. Eskom, please look at the way you communicate with the downtrodden people, the people on the ground. And otherwise, if you have done that research and made your communication strategy well, we would not be having deaths. We would not be having old ladies queuing and old men queuing until late. Please, all I'm asking, and I'm asking this for the poor that I stay with in Soweto and in Orlando East. The old man we're showing in a picture now doesn't speak the English that any other person can speak. All I'm asking, please come down to our level. Come down to the level of the people in the villages, in the townships, and all that. You speak and even use acronyms that are difficult for people. I'm not going to be technical here. Please understand, everyone else in this who are my partners can be however technical. I'm just going to speak a language in the township. We don't understand what you're talking about. The way you introduced even the very issue, I'm sorry, I'm going to say something else, but Eskom seemed to be holding black people in particular and saying, if you don't do this, you are going to do this. I've not seen any white people in your displays, in all that. I've never seen any middle class people in all your confrontations and all that. But I've seen the poor of the poorest.
Right.
Where is what we fought for in this country? And I'm not going to be technical about this. The other day, I was in one of your sister stations. I said to them, there should be South Africa is finding itself in a schizophrenia situation where there's got to be Ubuntu versus the rule of law.
Yes.
All I'm asking, all I've got to pray, Eskom and everyone, please, most of you who are officials today come from these townships. When you talk about maybe illegal connections, they would not be there if you spoke the language of the township, of the villages. Now we are speaking the language of the and I have a problem with that. And all I'm saying, come down.
Let me get Daphne Mokwena's response to that. Daphne, your response? If you can unmute, Daph.
When I started, as I said, that there's all room for improvement, and clearly that Seth is correct to say that probably we could have done better, and that is why I said that there is room for improvement, and we could have probably communicated better, but we did communicate. for the longest of time since 2023. And I think for the lessons I've learned from this project, I think there is lessons that we can learn from this project, because as you would have seen that these queues, we saw these queues towards the deadline, because all along there were no queues towards our pop-up offices, because we had pop-up offices to come closer to the community so that we can explain what is going to happen. When I said we intensified our campaigns, that is when we started with the pop-up offices, going to the communities, trying to explain what is going to happen in their different languages, even in the rural areas. But as Seth has said, I think there's lessons to be learned, and I think there's more that we could have done.
All right, let's go through to our digital audience. Moletelo, let's hear from you first, then Lungile, and then Musa.
Good evening, Blaine. I think the first thing that to appreciate or come to terms with is the fact that there's a digital infrastructure divide in the country. And, our issues as South Africans are deeply rooted in, systems that were previously, unable to keep up with the supply and the demand of the South Africans. So I think one thing that Eskom needs to do is to really go back to the ground and speak to people on the ground and make sure that everyone is on board, because from what I'm seeing now and from what I'm getting and from what I've experienced as well, not a lot of people knew about this the recoding of your meters. And another thing is the deadline for recoding these meters. It has a potential of causing or placing a heavy burden, economic burden, on low-income households. For example, like William has already elaborated, that people have to travel to go and recode them, submit their documents, even though they can do it from home as well. But like a lack of communication and probably other factors such as your traveling that need to happen for you to submit your documents. They are the ones that cause us economic burdens.
Point making. Jose, from what you heard from Seth Mazibuko, from Moletela, William as well, could this have been handled in a better way?
Well, as I said earlier on, there's a legitimate reason for some that may have had challenges understanding what is going on. But I don't think that we should shy away from the fact that we know for a long time there's been issues with meters, particularly in Soweto. I mean, this change is not just happening in Soweto. You've got the Free State, you've got other areas where you've got poor people who are not as literate, but you find that there's been compliance. So let us not overplay it. Although it is legitimate, but let us not overplay it. That's my view.
All right. I'm told, Lungile and Musa, that my time is up, and we do apologize for not taking your comments. We'll try to bring you on another show as well. Daphne Mokwena, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck. You got a lot on your hands, and we can only hope that Eskom can come out of this shining, so to speak, because if you guys win, then we win, right, as a whole. So thank you very much indeed. To our digital audience as well, appreciate it. Jose, appreciate your time, as well as Seth Mazibuko, as always. All right, before we go, here's my take. You just have 25 minutes, right? Just over 25 minutes to upgrade your electricity meter. By now, you've heard the frustrations, you've heard the explanations. Finding the best way to do things is important. I remembered an interesting quote that I read on the site Project Manager, attributed to writer and motivational speaker Claire Cook, who said simply, if plan A doesn't work, the alphabet has 25 more letters. Meaning what? Well, as it goes on to explain, in project planning terms, more often than not, nothing goes as planned, right? You know it from experience. So it's important to identify risks well in advance and prepare to adapt. Look, we can all do better in the way we do things, in the way we plan, in the way we communicate, in the way we relate to each other. Also, not leaving things to the last minute, right? Lesson learned. So let's learn, and let's resolve to solve. And that's my take. If you miss anything on this program, be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube. You'll also find us on the SABC Plus app. Oliver Dixon up next with Democracy 30. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.